Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and this is what I live for. All right, so I like my psychology oozed all over into physics today, and I went, okay, this is definitely. I'm tired of thinking and seeing these things in my head. Now, this is not naming rights because this stuff has already been done. It's already defined by a whole lot of other scientists. But now psychology just stepped into their world. We are conductors. Boom. When we network, we are actually part of an electrical circuit. I do not know these words. I can see them. I can see how it's all moving, but I don't have the vocabulary. So I am learning the vocabulary to articulate what it is I'm trying to say. So if you are familiar with physics, with electrical currents, with the work of Tesla, you're going to have the words that I don't have, but I see stuff. So I'm going to try and borrow the words from physics and this stuff, so that I can translate what's going on with psychology, because they are the same thing right now. A human being is a conductor. When you have emotions, there are emotional energy. It is literally, that's why we have positive and negative. When we say positive and negative, it is not literal, or maybe it is literal actually in the world of physics. It is creating a positive charge and a negative charge. And yes, it is polarized. Now, I believe that our skin and our physical bodies are that word that covers a battery. See what I mean? So let me take a look at this for a minute here. It's the outer thing. This is really amazing. I don't know what this is called. So just give me a minute while I translate. It's a diametric. Just give me a minute here. Dielectric. So our skin, our bodies are a dielectric that encompasses and encases the electrical or the positive and the negative charges. Now, what I've noticed is we say a lot of, oh, don't resist the emotions. Now, when you do that in the world of psychology, you end up with cognitive dissonance. This is part of when you have an emotional input, it produces an emotional charge, whether it be negative or positive. It is vital that in this particular conversation, you understand that negative and positive is neither good nor bad, because that is in reference to the doctrine of ethics, and we're not doing that. This just is. It is either a negative or a positive charge. And I noticed that when we resist emotions, it's painful. Well, let's assume for a minute that we're a battery, because we are. You are a conductor. So when you have an emotional response, you are producing an emotion that is either negative and or positive, or it's neutral. When you have that emotional charge and you resist it, you are literally preventing the flow of the electrical flow. And when you finally find your alignment and your balance with the universe, what you are really doing is becoming a superconductor. When you become a superconductor, you are allowing the flow of the energy to pass, good or bad, negative or positive, through you without resistance. If you know anything about physics and electrical energy, this should make a lot of sense to you. And I'm here to say, holy shit, psychology is physics. A human being is just a battery, which is why we have our spinal cord doing what it is, because our spinal cord is in fact a magnetic, it's a wire where the electrical currents go up and down. Now, as we have these emotional responses to things, measuring negative and positive, they create an emotional mental environment inside of you. So you end up being a battery that is mostly positive charged, or you end up being a battery that is, what is a battery, by the way? I need to just define the word battery. What I'm trying to figure out in this particular video is to determine what type of a capacitor we are. I can't tell if we're a fixed capacitor, a polarized capacitor, or a variable capacitor. That's what I'm studying right now, to try and figure out precisely what kind of a capacitor we are, because depending upon what kind of a capacitor we are, depends and tells us what we should and should not be doing with our energy. Now, I did notice that the more aligned and balanced I became, the allowing and the non-resistance to emotions. And let's change this wording a little bit, because physics has already provided these words for us. We say things like, oh, don't resist the emotions, accept them. Okay, that actually is conducting them. You either resist them or you conduct them. And when you decide to resist them, you're actually like stopping the flow in the current. So the AC/DC current isn't is that correct, AC/DC? Like I said, this is not my world. I'm in the world of psychology, but suddenly all this started oozing together and I'm going, well, wait a minute, this world looks a lot like this world. And I'm pretty sure that my world now, psychology world, is your world, physicists. And I'm going, I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same thing now, except you got the words that I need. So this is what's going on. I believe it's resistance versus conducting. It's not resistance versus accepting, you're conducting it. So when you accept it, what you're really doing is finally allowing for the flow of positive and negative charge to go through you. And that is when you become a superconductor. Now, when you become a superconductor, you stop being a closed circuit. See, I've been saying network. It's circuit. Instead of it being a closed circuit where you are a capacitor and you're storing the energy inside of you, you need to hook up to the electromagnetic field. And a superconductor has the ability to constantly be charged infinitively through the electromagnetic field because the circuit has opened up and connected to the electromagnetic field. So translating this for all those spiritual people out there, it goes like this. When you tune into the universe and you align with the energy of the universe in the energy pool, you never run out of any kind of energy because you're pulling it from a continual source that is the universe. Let's translate this over to physics. What you're really doing is hooking up to the electromagnetic field of the earth, and you never run out of energy because you are permanently fixed as a superconductor into the electromagnetic field, pulling the energy and the electromagnetism from the earth into you and out again in a constant flow, which is what the chakras are. It's actually, if you look at it, a constant flow. Now, I think everyone's saying that it flows like this, and I'm going, that doesn't make any possible sense because it's flowing up and into us and out and around. So I think that the energy is flowing up and around. And I also, maybe it's doing both. Maybe one's going this way and the other's going that way. I don't know yet. But that is why we have polarized up too far and then down to grounded. And, oh, you've been grounded too far. You need to go up into the third eye. And then the people will say, oh, well, that's the third eye. You need to ground yourself because you've been too up in the ethereal plane too much. But I exist on the opposite plane because I was raised in the ethereal plane. So for me, when I ground, I can't ground on the material plane. That hurts me. In fact, when I'm down here too long, that's when I feel it the most. It's for me, that's cognitive dissonance. So I live in the ethereal plane. When I ground, I have to isolate, pull in, and I have to go up in my head, and I have to be in my head to recharge. I recharge by plugging back into the electromagnetic field of the earth and allowing the earth to just take me off to the ethereal plane. Let's translate that over to physics. What I'm really saying is I believe I have a surplus of positive charge that absolutely allows me to constantly regenerate while I'm hooked up to the electromagnetic field. But when I'm down in the material plane, what I'm actually doing is changing the polarization or the direction of my energy over to negativity. And as a result, it doesn't quite feel good for me. So I'm in this in-between where I have to make sure, as is all things in this universe, in order to be aligned and properly balanced, I have to find my proper Zen point between point A and point B, which is aligned and balanced. And that's when I have a constant surplus of always feeling energized. Now, according to Pythagoras, he claims, taught that we have a frequency, we're back to physics again, we have a frequency that the entire planets move and shift around, so that the entire earth, the entire universe is actually a musical frequency. By the way, he's also the creator of music theory and the circle of fifths. So I'm starting to look at how all of that turns in, and I like to align it with, I love E major. That is my frequency. That is the chord, the scale that absolutely just vibrates with my frequency, and all the world is right when I hear it. It's like I'm a tuning fork, and when I hear the frequency E major, that is my Zen place. No chord hits me closer than E major. Now, I believe this is different for each and every person. We are talking about a particular vibrational frequency. Now, how to measure all this shit, I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the physicists. I do believe very much that there is a negative and positive charge when we feel emotions. The problem is when we suppress emotions, we are actually resisting them. And because we are a conductor, they cause us significant pain. And as a person heals, one of the things they learn is how to go from being a resistor over to being a superconductor. That's when you align and you match up and everything's fine and you connect with the electromagnetic field. So that now when there is a change out there, when there is a new moon, when there is a shift in the planets and Mercury retrograde and all that jazz, when all of that planetary movement is occurring and it's shifting and moving and pushing and pulling with the electromagnetic field of the Earth, you're not going to feel it if you have found your point zero and you are aligned with the universe. So this question still remains, what kind of a capacitor are we? And I really want to say we're not fixed. We cannot be fixed. Because if we're fixed, that means we are unchanging. But I might be taking the word quite literally here where I shouldn't be. In just a minute. Is the cat okay? Daniel, is she okay? Is that Midnight or Spriggan? I have a cat named Spriggan.
Oh, I have a cat named Spriggan.
So it's Midnight. Oh, he found his sloth. He found his sloth. That's what that is. Oh, yes, he is happy. That is his, I have found my sloth. I was going through laundry a few minutes ago, and he has a sloth. It's the best thing in the world for him. He loves his sloth, and he's missed it for like 3 months. I just found it like an hour ago, and I threw it on the floor, and he just found it. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, what is going on with the cat? The cat has found his sloth. He's okay. Here, hand me the sloth, please. All right, so capacitor is going with resistance and introduces it. This is his sloth. Okay, now, kitty, 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 kitty. Okay. Capacitor is going with resistance and belonging to the group of passive components in electronic equipment. Small capacitors using AC capacity. Why is this not telling me the types? I want to know about the fixed and the variables. And they're giving me materials, which explains why when we are electrocuted, the electricity passes through us. I had a friend, acquaintance, coworker. She was electrocuted by lightning. I will tell you her story. She was in a group of people, and the bolt of lightning struck the entire group of people. And people witnessed this thing, and they called the hospital, and they were like, oh my God, she just got electrocuted with electricity. Like a bolt of lightning struck this group of people. There were about 4 or 5 people in the group. They rushed them to the hospital. So here's what happened. First and foremost, nothing happened. They didn't feel it. They didn't even know it happened. Their fingernails were all black. Their toenails were all black. They lost all of their fingernails and toenails. There was no pain. They did not lose their hair. Their hair was staticky and like frizzy. That is it. They were fine. The test the doctors conducted on them was more painful than anything else. That was it. This is the day she was zapped by electricity, like a bolt of lightning. So, now there was this one day, we had a switch, and there was no protective plate, electrical plate over the switch. And I flipped the switch, and I got zapped. It was so fucking painful. Like it traveled up through, it hit my elbow, and that's where it released. It did not go further. It felt like somebody, I really want to name this person who did this to me, but it was nobody, reached into my arm and grabbed every one of my nerves and yanked. That's what it felt like. And I felt all the pain through here, through every nerve, but the nerve endings were just like, ah! And it was all like condensed here. Well, it was a grounding rod. It was like my arm was the grounding rod for the electricity. And when it got to here, there was no grounding. So it just, and it released. So it was the point of release. The point of escape is where the pain was. And it also hurt all the way through the arm, but not nearly as bad as that point of release. So it ground them right into the ground. Like the bolt of lightning went right into the ground and released onto the ground. So they were just the conductor of the electricity that just passed through them. And they felt nothing. They had no idea. If somebody had not sat there and watched them get zapped with electricity, I really need to not say it that way because it was a bolt of lightning. Had they not seen the bolt of lightning strike this group of people, they would not have known, any of them, that they were hit by lightning. That's how intense this was. So the more I study psychology at this point, now I knew this was going to happen, and I knew that it's going to go into more of them, because I started to see this a long time ago. Why won't this tell me? Supercapacitors. It gives me the option of there's variable, there's fixed. And this is really where I need to just like, oh, here we go. Variable capacitors may have their capacitance changed by mechanical motion. There is a tuning capacitor, variable capacitor, intentionally repeated turning an oscillator to in a radio, and a trimmer capacitor, small variable capacitor usually for, okay, so their capacitance is changed by mechanics. All right, so that's variable. All right. It's when it's changed by mechanics. It sounds like a pacemaker, like a heart pacemaker. Let's see here. Okay, here's a variable. It doesn't give me any more. And I'm like, I want to know more about this. And trying to find the precise fixed polarized capacitor. See, I really want to know about a polarized capacitor. I think we are polarized capacitors. So just based off of that gut instinct, I think we're polarized. We should be. Absolutely. And I can feel that. I can see it when we have the negative and the positive energy. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. And I felt this when I was running around going, there was like a 3-month, 6-month stage of my life this last year where I was just going, I need to connect. I need to connect. And it was that feeling of, all right, I'm a capacitor. I'm filled with all this energy. And if I don't figure out a way to connect and start plugging into a circuit and becoming an open circuit, I'm going to explode here, because I felt like I had a surplus of energy, which is why some people shake. Is because you have a surplus of energy that's contained, as if you have too much energy contained in your capacitor. And I'm sorry, I can't help it. The flux capacitor, it's the flux capacitor. Like I can feel this now. So it's like, it is like a surplus of energy contained, like there's too much energy in the capacitor. And if I don't hook up to the circuit and start getting into the transference of all this stored energy, then I'm going to explode all over the place. So it's definitely this, but in order to pull that off, you have to first stop resisting. You have to allow and become a superconductor. And then you can't be stagnant. You've got to ground yourself and hook up to the electromagnetic field. And that's when you can start allowing your circuit to pass. But that's where I can definitely feel it, where she's over there and she's definitely coming up through me. And I'm going, okay, what about the rest of you? Get in line now. Come on, hook me up, hook up to me. Here's my plug where I'm walking around looking for people to plug into. And that is where you get into the emotional transactions of gifting, taking, and oh my God, it's amazing. Like every time we bid for connection, we are literally looking to pass or transfer our positive, negative energy over to another person, exactly like in a circuit. And that's when you get a network/circuit, is when you start being able to transfer your own energy into other people. Now, when you do that, and this is where I'm sitting here going, okay, so this is my graph. This is my graph. This is my graph. And I'm sitting here looking at it going, okay, so now you have polarized poles. And this is where I'm thinking with the I of I and the U of I. And this is where we're nucleus. No, we're quarks. And I don't know why that's stuck in my head lately, but we're quarks. We're quarks. I don't know what this means, but we're quarks. And it's basically, we are these, there's 3. And I don't know why, but there's 3. And one of us has a negative charge and the other has a positive charge. And I believe there's a luminol right there with a neutral charge. And you require the 3 pieces, the positive, the negative, and the neutral, in order to balance and conduct the proper flow of energy. which is why you need a they of I, because if you just have an I of I, you are absolutely stationary and you are now a closed circuit. When you have a U of I and an I of I, that's when you might still have a closed circuit. You might still have the ability, but you're going to run out of resources. That's not conducive to anybody. That's why you require the they of I to plug in to get you the resources. That way you could start nurturing and nourishing your circuit, which is why we need to network. Now, while we're pulling this off, and I believe the they of I is neutral, whereas the I of I is positive, the U of I is negative and or reverse of that, and you need the they of I to be neutral. And then when you have the three of them together, that is when you have your quarks. I think it feels right. Electron, proton, and neutron. And yeah. And there's going to be physicists who come along and correct all this shit. Or they're going to be like, yeah, you're almost right, except for, thank you, yes. And that's where I'm like, yes, please, please. This is where I need physicists. Because I'm sitting here as a psychologist now going, hey, guys, pretty sure my material is now merging into your material. But I haven't studied physics as much as I need to study physics yet. And I'm pretty sure that your material is my material. Because if I pull you into the world of psychology and I'm showing you how human beings are interacting like a bunch of physics, this is getting interesting. And there's a lot more. And I think we're energy, which is exactly what Tesla and Einstein have been saying all along. But, and this is the other part, is if you actually look at the laws of emotions, there are laws of emotions. If you actually look at the laws of emotions, they actually follow Newton's laws of physics. It's extraordinary. Like the more I'm studying physics, I'm going, well, those are the emotional laws of physics. This is really is. And I wrote like 4 of the laws. And then I started studying Newton's laws of physics. And I went, well, look at that. They're like, yeah. So emotions actually follow the emotional laws of physics. And take that vacuum and say that emotions aren't logical. Oh, they're very logical. They are so logical. It's physics. Okay, so the word is capacitor, which I'm so happy about. I just got to say, the nerd in me just went, yeah, I'm a capacitor. So I'm just so happy right now because I'm a capacitor. That is what I am. The problem is we are all just a bunch of capacitors running around going, I got to hook up. I got to connect, which is why we keep going to these networking events going, I got to connect, because we are all capacitors. And the thing is you are a sentient capacitor. This is the best part. You are a sentient capacitor. I want to talk to Bill Nye. I want to talk to Bill Nye about this shit. Okay, so I am a capacitor. And we've got to figure out how to literally manage and navigate our positive and electrical negative charges that are coming from our emotions. Because if we don't, that is when we get cognitive dissonance, which is also just another fancy word for harmonic dissonance due to frequency, because we're energy. So this is really interesting. But yes, we are sentient capacitors, which really, and this is fascinating to me, because when you look at a telescope, you are looking out, and then we are having the microscopes and we're looking down. And then you have some microscopes where you're looking really down. And then you're looking at the Hubble telescopes. So you're really looking far. And I'm going, is anyone looking here? And I'm going, sometimes I think we're just molecules. I'm pretty sure we are just sentient molecules. And that eventually there's going to be a moment where we look into one of these things and somebody's going to be in their little molecule under the microscope telescope having a party. And they're going to be sentient, like, hey, join the party. And it's going to be like some shit out of Rick and Morty. And it's going to be, yes. That is how I see the world at this point, is we are just sentient capacitors. And this is the way I want the world to be, because this is fun. This is like life is a laboratory. That's what it feels like right now. Life is a laboratory. I could not be happier. So I'm going to go off now and study more physics. And then I'm going to go study more Pythagoras, because right now things are getting really fucking awesome. Yes, that is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I was just talking to somebody about this. Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, He's like, you got to make money. I don't want to hear about money. I've worked for money. I don't want to work for money. When you work for money, you value money, you give money the power, and then the money becomes your boss. I know how this shit works. This is exactly how this shit works. Because as soon as you value money, you put power on money, and then money becomes your boss. And I have worked for money before, and he's a fucking asshole, I will tell you. Working for money is the worst boss in the world. And I'm like, you really want to know what I want to do? I want to be in a lab all day. Like, just put me in a lab. And oh my God, I'm like, there are people who do the client things, and everyone's like, oh, you need clients. And I'm like, I don't want to wait. No, give me the paperwork in the laboratory, in the lab. You know who my favorite character in Ghostbusters was? Egon. Egon. I loved Egon so much on so many levels. Like, he's in the lab and he's watching the little girl and he says, let's see what happens when we take the puppy away. Yes, take the puppy away. See what happens. And I'd be like, let's take a look at that. Like, I'm that person. Only I'm sitting here going, yeah, you measure the brain waves of that child. I'm going to measure the emotional wave patterns of her. Yes, I want to know the emotional evocation, emotional evocation. That is the word I love. Take the puppy away. Emotional evocation. Okay, I have to officially see if this word is a real word. So that all being said, yes, learning, this is my passion. I need to this is actually how I need to teach. I love teaching. Evocation. This is going to be a word and I'm going to make it so. It is so. Evocation. No. Oh, wait, is that a word? Evocation. Evocation. Oh, they're calling it evocation. The act or fact of evoking, summoning. Evocation. Evocation. I think I like evocation better, but I'll go with evocation. Evocation. Now I'm back in capacitors again. Evocation. I will conform. Evocation. Emotional evocation. Emotional evocation. So yeah, this is like a huge part of it. Like this is physics. So I'm studying physics now. I mean, I've been studying physics for a very long time, but now I'm getting into this aspect of it. It's so funny because I'm sitting here going, there's something here, and it's like a rod, and it stores energy. And I know this has been invented somewhere else by someone else before. Because now I know I'm exiting the world of psychology while I'm actually carrying psychology over into this world going, so, hi, physicists, guess what I found out? That psychology is just physics. I mean, I knew that for a while, but here I am now finally where it's merging. And I'm going, I can't do naming rights, which I'm fine with because I've already done all the naming rights. Like I did all the naming up to this point. And I'm like, well, great. I reached the end of psychology and look at that. There's physics. Physics is all over the place. So I'm very happy to find physics here because physics and I okay, so I have loved physics for a very long time. I cannot emphasize to you enough, like physics and I go way back. Like physics. I used to read the Bible going, God is physics. I literally said this like for years, since 1995. I literally had a Bible where I wrote God out and scratched physics in crayon. In the beginning, physics said, let there be light, and there was light, and physics said this is good. And I'm like, yes, because physics said so. And it's insane. And then I was the person who, when I was learning how to drive and I could feel the centrifugal force of the car, and I was like, oh, trust the physics, trust the physics. Yeah, like that was me. Physics has been my archetype for 30 years. I love physics. Physics is my happy place. So, and I love psychology-ish. I don't know if I love psychology. I'm trauma bonded to psychology. Really, that's my truth. I am trauma bonded to psychology. Psychology was the survive, just survive somehow. So, and then it got to a point where I'm like, well, now I'm stuck with psychology because what else can I do? But to finally get to this point where I'm going, this is energy. This is energy. And I'm like, Tesla's here. I can smell Einstein. I know he's here. And I could feel it. And I'm just like, yes, this is going to a good place. Just trust the process. Trust the process. So as I healed, I ended up like more and more merging into this world of physics. And I'm going, okay, so we're all talking about negative and positive emotions. You know, people say emotions are illogical, but I beg to differ. If they were illogical, why would they be in the human body and in the human brain? Because so far, what I've seen is we are logical. We are so fucking logical that we are allergic to illogic. We call that cognitive dissonance. I am certain that we are so logical that we actually have logical health inside of us. Interesting. So that's really when I pulled back to my philosophy and I was like, define truth for me, Socrates. And we're sitting here trying to, like I'm sitting here with Socrates right now going, what do you say about this, Socrates? So we're sitting there trying to figure this shit out. And that's right. That's right. We're trying to figure this shit out together. So I'm sitting here working with Socrates on it. And we're like going through the shit. And I'm like, all right, what did you say about this? And I'm pulling up Plato and I'm pulling up Hobbes. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And I'm looking at Kant. And I'm going, shit. And so I'm looking now at Schrodinger. I was doing some work with Schrodinger the other day and Pavlov. And yeah, these are all like coming back together. Like, all right, you're talking about the RAS system and you're talking about the subconscious mind's conditioning process. And the more it's all coming together, I'm going, this is highly fucking logical. And while it's highly fucking logical, oh, by the way, we're also wandering into the world of philosophy with truth. And what is God anyway? And it keeps coming back to physics and the archetype and the definition of the self. And it's all looped in on itself. In the meantime, people are like, oh, resisting your emotions hurts. Isn't that interesting? If you resist your energy flow, it causes us pain. Fascinating. And I can see somebody up there like poking at this plant going, interesting. If you poke at the plant, it screams. Fascinating. And so there's like this, it's in pain. We need to define what pain is. Have we defined pain yet? Let me look up the word pain. Pain has been one of those things that just, what is pain anyway? Pain, definition. Physical suffering. See, I disagree right there. No, it's emotional. It can be any suffering. Suffering or discomfort caused by illness or injury. Careful effort. Careful effort? What does that even fucking mean? Great care. Oh, I see. She took pains to see that. Okay, I understand now. All right. Cause mental or physical pain too. That is what it means for mental illness. To cause mental or physical pain too. That's what pain means. Suffering. Yeah, that's how archaic psychology is. To cause mental or physical pain is what the word pain means. Physical suffering or discomfort. How about if we change that to all suffering and discomfort? So pain is suffering or discomfort. Now here it says caused by illness or injury, and I'm going, well, what if it's caused for other reasons? I mean, this is a really sloppy definition. I mean, come on. First, get rid of the word physical and then change it caused by illness or injury. Nothing else is allowed here. It has to be those two. No. So it means to suffer or have discomfort from. And my question always has been from what? From what? And it comes down to cognitive dissonance. It is literally the resistance of frequency. The resistance of frequency. It is the damaging of the frequency. It is the damaging of the frequency. I believe it is the damage of the frequency, of a personal frequency. Don't damage my personal frequency. This is what I truly, and this is the kind of shit. We're on a metaphysical level. We're going, holy shit, pain is damaging of the personal frequency. Like, this is some pretty fucking heavy shit. But nowhere in all of the world right now, except in Pythagoras, Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, do they cover this shit. And I'm going, what the fuck, people? This is in. And it's so fucking important. No wonder why we're all messed up. So, damage of personal frequency. I believe that pain is, see, I get to define shit. I love defining shit. So pain is the damaging of personal frequency. And or, see, and I want to say that a logical truth is actually your frequency. That's why you're here, physicists. That is why you are here, physicists, is because my world is starting to leak into your world. I believe that a person's logical health actually is their personal frequency. And this is where I want to sit down with Tesla and Einstein and ask them, dudes, what do you think about logical health being literally not synonymous with personal frequency? Logic, one could argue, equals frequency. I really want to break this down to saying that logic is frequency. See, now I got to look up the word frequency. By the way, this is why definition matters. The rate at which something occurs or is repeated over a particular, it's just rhythm, really, just rhythm. Is this all it is frequency, is rhythm? The rate at which something occurs or is repeated over a particular, this is rhythm, this is just pulse and rhythm. The rate at which a vibration occurs that constitutes a wave either in a material as in sound waves or in an electromagnetic field. So it's a pulse. I'm going to look up logic. Logic definition. Oh, maybe logic produces frequency. A reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. That's right. A system or set of principles underlying the arrangements of elements in a computer or electronic device so as to perform. We're back to physics again. A system or set principles underlying the arrangements of elements. Fascinating. No, this is definitely going to be my classroom. This is officially my classroom. You're going to learn when I learn. That's right. And I make learning fun. This is so much fun. All right, I'm going to calm down. Yes. I'm so excited. A system or set of principles underlying the arrangements of elements in a computer or electronic device as to perform a specified task. Ooh. The system used of symbolic and mathematical techniques to determine the form of valid deductive argument. Oh yes, this is mathematics. This is 100% mathematics, but we've known that. Words are mathematics. Yes, words and mathematics. That's why they're so freaking precise. That's why when you don't speak precise, your math is off. Oh, that's it right there. That's it. Words are math. Really, they truly are. Words and math are the same damn thing. Oh, which is why everyone sleeps. Oh, that explains the sloppy talk. Oh, because everyone sucks at, well, not everyone, quantifiers, me included, because a lot of people suck at mathematics, because there is an art and a precision to words. Like quantifiers. We need to stop using quantifiers. All right. So language and words are actually math. I know this. And symbols and hieroglyphics are math. Now, Pythagoras had a lot to say about mathematics. I mean, a fuck ton about mathematics. I need to read about Pythagoras because this is where he's getting into my wonderful world of math, or maybe I'm stepping into his world of math. Technically, I'm stepping into the world of math, and I'm going, Pythagoras, you're here. Okay. So, language is math. And this is the best part, because when we get used to reading and saying double negatives, which are very popular right now in our culture, and people are like, wait, there are like 4 negatives in that sentence, and I'm not quite sure. It's disgusting. Like the math is absolutely broken down, and it just, oh my God. Language is math. Math is language. I always said that math is the language of the universe, and the universe is physics. That is how I've always described everything as being, is physics is the center of the universe. Physics is the be all and the end all of the world. And this is my other thing, is respect the physics. Respect the physics. Respect the physics. Like every time I came close to any kind of a car accident, I would go, respect the physics. Respect the physics. Because when you don't respect the physics, bad shit happens. You must respect the physics. All right. So this is me just overjoyed with the fact that psychology is finally now getting really fucking fascinating for me. Like now I'm like, yes, it's worth it. Because physics is here. I'm so happy. Okay. So I have a whole thing I'm doing on narcissism later, and I haven't gotten there yet because I'm almost bored with it. And that's where I'm at with psychology is I see psychology like most people see kindergarten math. So after I fix something or solve it, I get real bored with it. I'm like, okay. And then I'll talk to people and they'll be like, whoa. And I'm like, I just told you that 1 + 1 = 2. Okay. So I really struggle with psychology because for me, it's boring. Like it's getting to a point where it's like, it's fascinating while I'm discovering it. But then I get to a point where it's like, because it's just like, it's just kindergarten math for me. So I am doing a thing on narcissists later. I have a meeting right now that I have to go to, but I'm still on my whole, I'm so happy physics is here. And we are capacitors. So I'm glad I have this word. I'm glad I didn't have to invent it. I'm so thrilled that this stuff, like the words are in place and I just got to go, yeah, I'm going to go over to this world. And it's so funny because I've never studied electricity. So I'm sitting here studying it and I feel like I'm just learning vocabulary. Like that's all I'm learning right now. I'm going through it and I'm like, I just need the vocabulary. And I'm going at like, yeah, that's exactly how I see it, but it's over here with the body. And we've got the brain happening and we've got emotions happening and we got a whole bunch of people going, no, my emotions. What are you doing? We need those. That's like your whole circuit. Like, what are you doing? Stop resisting. You got to be a superconductor. All right. All right. So thank you for being my audience. May the kindest of words always find you.